Greetings, fellow humans. You know me as Iceman Caesar, and this is what's up in the world today. Got some tough subjects on the schedule for today. Going to be talking about love, lust, and sex. So you can see why I call them tough subjects, but I have a controversial stance when it comes to these three things, but I just ask everybody to watch the entire video and take all of the information in that I'm putting out there before you make a decision on it, because it's definitely going to be controversial, and if you only get some of the information, you might seem like something else that it's really not. So, I know it's controversial, but I just ask that you watch the whole video and take in all the information before you make a decision on it. Now, it's definitely complicated, so I'm going to go back to the beginning of kind of where life starts to start explaining it. But before I get going, I just want to throw out there that when I'm talking about love in this video, I'm talking about specifically the romantic love between a man and a woman. I'm not talking about any other kind of love, like love between friends or love between family members or homosexual love. I'm just specifically talking about romantic love between a man and a woman. Now, the reason is because I think that the talking about homosexuality and homosexual love is important enough to talk about on its own in its own video. I don't want to lump it in with this one. So I just think it's important enough to discuss on its own as a topic. But I will say about it that I believe that God did make some people to be gay and homosexual, and that living a homosexual life, as long as it's in line with what God wants, is not a sin at all. So I'm just going to say that. But today's video is specifically about the romantic love between a man and a woman. So I wanted to establish that before I get going. So now getting right into it, you remember back to the first video that I did about the body and the soul, and how when you're born, your consciousness transfers from your soul to your body. Well, when that happens, your body is given an energy, and you carry that energy with you for your entire life. Now you can share this energy and connect it with people, short-term ways and long-term ways. I'm going to discuss them in a minute, but I know energy is skeptical to some people. I mean, people think that it's not real. It's not something you can, like actually see and, like touch physically, but you can feel it in a way and you can touch it in a way. So, but it's not in that physical sense. So a lot of people are skeptical to it. I was for a lot of years as well. But going through massage therapy college and then just learning everything I did about the body, and then getting the information God gave me about spirituality, and just all the experiences that I had, all of it seemed to add up that energy was real. It was a real thing, and that it wasn't some kind of mumbo jumbo that people just made up or just think is real. It actually is a real thing. But the kind of the red letter moment for me was I was working in a clinic with a Reiki practitioner, and Reiki is a treatment where they only deal with the energy, so they don't physically touch you at all during the treatment. Their hands are very close to you, but it's just dealing with the energy. They're not touching you, so they can just focus on the energy. And like I say, a lot of people are skeptical. They think it doesn't work at all, and it's just a waste of money. But I've seen some people swear by it and say it helps. And but one day in the clinic, I was at the desk when a patient came in, and she said that she just wanted to try something new, was just kind of looking for a way to relax. Her body felt fine, was no real pain or soreness or anything. So went into the treatment, and I happened to be at the desk again when she came out of the treatment, and this time she kind of came out with almost like a flabbergasted expression, just dumbfounded, and kind of rubbing her arms a little bit. And so we were curious, and the Reiki practitioner asked her, are you okay? Is everything all right? And she said, well, yeah, I mean, I felt fine, but I feel sore, almost like I had a workout or something, but you didn't actually touch me during the massage, and I didn't feel it before I went in. So she was just blown away by the fact that the work the Reiki practitioner did with the energy actually was something that she could feel. And I was standing right there. I'll never forget the look that she had on her face. So that moment right there solidified the fact that energy is real. We all have it, and it's something that can be influenced positively or negatively. So I just wanted to share that to kind of help establish that energy is a real thing that we all carry with us, and there's ways to connect that energy with people in short term and long term. Now, one of the short-term ways to connect your energy with people is just kind of being around them. Sharing in fun and fellowship. Holding hands is a way you can connect your energy in a short-term way. But you've met people, or you've been around people that just sometimes when they're around, everything is just better. It's more positive, the party's more fun, people are laughing more, it's easier to have. It just seems like whenever there's a party and certain people are around, it's just things are better. And you say you feed off of their energy, and it is really true, because some of the energy people that have a more stronger fun and fellowship and friendship vibes. So when they're around, it's everyone feeds off of that positivity and that good energy. It also works on the opposite end of the spectrum, where if you're living close to the worst version of yourself, you're going to have a lot of negative energy. And there are people you'll hear of where it's when they're around, things are a lot more tense and people get more angry and there's more arguments and people are more snippy, and it's just there's a lot of it always kind of brings down the room. And when that person is around, it's just it seems like you can never have a good time. And so those should be little pieces of evidence that show you that energy is a real thing. And when you're around these people, that's when you can really kind of feel it, that you're either influenced positively or negatively. And, holding hands with someone, that's why it's such an intimate connection, because your energy it connects with them in a short-term way. So you're sharing a bond like that. And once you let go of their hand, or once you leave the party and distance starts to separate you, that connection breaks off and your energy is no longer connected. So that's one of the ways to short-term connect your energy to people. Now there's two ways to connect your energy to someone long-term, and that's for over the rest of your life. The first way to connect your energy to someone long-term is by having a child. So when you have a child, part of your energy goes into creating that child, and it stays with them for the rest of your life. And the thing about when you connect your energy long-term to somebody is that you never get it back. That energy you give out is gone, and if the person passes away or anything, that energy's gone from the world. And that's why you'll hear certain people say, when a loved one dies, it feels like a piece of them dies, because a piece of them really did die. Like a piece of that energy from you that went into creating them, that energy would be gone. So that that part of that person would be dead. And so like when you have a child, your energy is connected to them for the rest of your life, no matter what. And that's why it's so important for parents to play a role in the child's life, because that's your energy in there, and who can better influence your own energy than you. So that's why it's so important for parents to play a role in a child's life, so they can help influence that energy positively to grow and get stronger. But one of the ways to connect your energy to someone long term is by having a child. So that's the first way. The second way to connect your energy to someone long term for the rest of your life is through sex. And so every time you have sex with somebody, your energy is connected to that person for the rest of your life. And through those connections, you can be influenced positively or negatively. People can lift you up or bring you down, and it just depends on how they're living their life and what version of themselves they're trying to be. If they're trying to be the best version of themselves, then they're going to influence a lot more of the positive connections and help you, provide you with strength and things like that. But if they're living towards the worst version of themselves, then they're going to influence those negative connections and open up more negative energies towards you. So that's the thing. If you don't believe in energy, then you definitely don't believe it's connected to someone for the rest of your life when you have sex. But it doesn't matter if you believe it. It's true. It's a real thing. And when you have sex with someone, your energy is connected to them for the rest of your life. And that connection can influence you positively or negatively. So that's why sex should be taken so much more seriously than it is. It shouldn't be just some nonchalant thing that we deal with. And that's how a lot of us look at it. It's just kind of look at something that doesn't really matter. There's only consequences of getting pregnant or a disease. There's no other consequences, but there are other serious consequences. So we need to be looking at sex a lot more seriously than we do. And now, and you see, that is why the custom was taught that every person should only have one partner throughout their life, and that you should save yourself until you get married, and then that way your only sexual partner is the person that you marry. So that custom did not come into place randomly. It didn't come because of jealous or controlling people. It came because people knew that your energy was, when you had sex with someone, your energy was connected to them for the rest of your life. And so the goal should be to only have your energy connected to the person that you love, that you're going to be spending your life with, that you're going to be creating children with. So that's why that was always promoted that way, because that's the strongest love connection you can make. It's the best version of love. It'll allow you to be the best version of yourself, and just it'll allow you to get the greatest experiences, and feelings and emotions out of life. So that is why that was always taught. It wasn't just coming into random, because people knew that when you had sex with people, your energy was connected to them for the rest of your life. So it was always the best to connect it to one person, and that person being the one that you love and we're going to create life with and spend your rest of your life with. So now, in keeping with that you should only have one person that you love, or that one person that you're with your whole life, the one that you marry. When it comes to love, God gave every person in the world one true love. Now, your true love is someone that you connect with more than anyone. You get the feelings of love with them stronger than anyone. It's just your true love is someone that you just connect with better than anybody else, anywhere, at any time on earth. And now there's a few certain things that happen with your true love. They always exist in your timeline, so it's not like your true love is going to exist in the 1800s and you're not going to have any chance to connect. And the other thing is you will always interact at some point with your true love. So it's not like you'll be on one end of the world and they'll be on the other, and you'll never meet or coming together and never have a chance to connect. Like, that's the thing about your true love. They'll always exist in your timeline. You'll always interact with them at some point. So it's not impossible that you'd meet your true love. It always happens within your timeline. However, unfortunately, there is a catch to it, and the catch is that because of free will and because of the influence of Satan and his demons in the world, constantly trying to bring us down and keep us from the best version of ourselves, he's very, very good at it, and he's been successful in keeping a lot of us from the best versions of ourselves. And if he has been a success with either of you, like in your true love connection, then unfortunately you would not be at a point where you could make a romantic love connection with your true love. Like, either one of you or both of you will just not be in the position to where you could make that connection happen. And that's why the true love connection is so special, and it's such a thing that should be embraced and cherished, and just not ignored or thrown away or anything like that. Like, it's so special, because so much has to happen for it to come together. Like, both of you have to be at the point where you're pushing towards the best versions of yourself, and you've resisted Satan, and you built yourself to the point where you can make that romantic love connection, and then realize that you are each other's true love. And and that's the thing, when you make your true love connection, there's no you don't have to worry about putting your energy to someone and being let down. It's like that. The true love connection is the one where you put your energy in, and you get just as much back from that person, and you're not. Just none of the negative, bad things that ruin a relationship, come about, because it's such a strong connection that it's able to stay strong through a lot of the problems and that come up and bring people down in a relationship. So like that. So that's the thing. It is unfortunately a rare thing because of Satan and his demons. So if you are able to find it, you have to embrace it and cherish it and do everything you can to keep it as strong as possible. But as I said, it's a rare thing. So there's going to be a lot of us that can't make this connection. All is not lost. Even though God gave every person one true love, because he knows about free will and the influence that Satan and his demons can have. So he made it so that we all have one true love, but we also have many other people that we can have a secondary love connection with, which wouldn't be as strong and the same as your true love, but at the closest second, and just as great a great, amazing experience with amazing feelings and emotions on its own. So it's even though it's going to be rare for a lot of us to make that true love connection, he still gave us a lot of secondary strong connections to possibly make throughout our life. And he said, yeah, but that's the thing. See, like, it wouldn't be really fair if our true love was the only option for us, because of how Satan and his demons can influence us and our environment before we're even born, giving us no chance really to be the best version of ourselves. Because of that is why God had to balance it out with one true love, and then many other people you can love. And so now when it comes to sex, sex is really something that's all, it's taboo. It's not talked about. It's not really celebrated. And but it really is one of the greatest gifts and blessings we have been given in life, because when you have sex, especially when it's with somebody you love, like it's arguably the greatest experience in life. And when you're in the moment having sex, it would be hard to argue that it isn't the greatest experience that you could have and gives you the greatest emotions. I mean, it's just such a pleasurable thing that it's a shame it's only momentary. But I mean, like, it's just, sex is a great blessing and gift. We could easily have been beings created with, reproduction was just, no pleasure to it or anything like that. Nothing. It was just, no, our reproductive organs were not the same, and, not the same as we have now. So, it was just, none of the great, amazing things that come with sex would be in the world. Would be in the world. So, it should be something that we don't just ignore and throw away. We should embrace it and cherish it. But at the same time, it is a gift and a blessing. It could also very easily be the catalyst to our downfall and open up a lot of the worst part, negativity and evil. And a lot of time, unfortunately, in this world, it is the catalyst to a lot of our downfalls, and it doesn't stay the great gift and blessing it is, because that's the thing. The line between them is so thin that you just have to be so careful in determining who you make a sexual connection with. And in these days, there's no care or effort put into it. It's like, whatever, if you're physically attracted to them, just what, and then you both consent to it, just have sex. Like, there's no thought into making sure you actually love that person, or no thought to like this content of character. A lot of the time it's just not enough thought is put into it when sex is such a serious thing and can lead to a lot of serious consequences, especially for our souls, and putting sin on it. So I just wanted to establish that sex is a great thing. It's a blessing. It's a gift from God, and we shouldn't be taking it for granted like we do. But at the same time, it could easily be the catalyst to our downfall, and a lot of times, unfortunately, it is. So now talking about lust. So when I said before that God gave us an option to have secondary love connections with many other people, when I say many other people, I don't mean every single person in the world. Like, there are enough people that you can make a love connection with where you can justify saying many, but there are a good majority of people in the world that you won't have a love connection with, and so those people, when you're with them and like you're spending time with them, and you just know that you don't click, like you just certain things about you clash, and even though you're physically attracted to them or attracted to other things, it's just you don't click, and you just know that it's not love. However, you might be physically attracted, and if you still push forward knowing that you don't click and it's not love into a sexual connection, that is lust, and that is what opens up the negativity and puts the sin on your soul. And as the flawed humans we already put enough on our souls in our day-to-day lives trying to be good people. We don't need to put serious sin on our soul through lust. So that's why it's so important to determine, is it a love connection, or if it's not, then it's lust, and we have to stay away from it. But so that's why I just wanted to establish that when I said you could make a connection with many, you could make a secondary love connection with many people. I'm not saying every single person in the world. Like, there's going to be a good majority of people that you just don't click with, you don't have that love connection with, and that you just have to be able to walk away from those situations, because it's just not worth putting that kind of sin on your soul. And in making that determination between love and lust, that is why alcohol and man-made drugs are so evil. Now, I'm going to be talking about drugs, but when I say drugs, I am not talking about cannabis. That's a God-made plant, and cannabis is not a hindrance in determining love versus lust. If anything, the girls that I've been around that smoke weed, when they get high, if they do not feel you and they do not click with you, you cannot be around them. They don't even want to be, you can't even be sitting next to them and, having your arms touched. Like, they do not want to be anywhere close to you. So I think cannabis can be a great weapon in determining love versus lust as opposed to a hindrance. But when I say drugs, I'm excluding cannabis. I'm only talking about man-made drugs. And that's why the alcohol and man-made drugs can be so evil and so bad for our society, is because they take away your ability and really your desire to determine the difference between love and lust. And the consequences are so serious for our soul that it's just, it's so awful that alcohol and drugs dominate the scene of people getting together, because that's the thing. The more lust connections you make, the closer you're going to be pushed to the worst version of yourself, and that is exactly what Satan wants. That's why Satan and his Illuminati created a society where people getting together in relationships is dominated by alcohol and drugs, because they do not want people getting to the best versions of themselves. They want people at the worst versions of themselves. So that is why alcohol and drugs are so bad. Now, really, if you think about it, if you remove alcohol and drugs from the equation, you could reduce people's number of sexual partners in half. And I guarantee that, because everybody I've brought that up to has agreed with me and been like, wow, you're right. Like, I definitely could. The only people that disagree are because they could say, you know what, not even half, like way more. Almost, and some people say almost all. And, that's just crazy to realize that these people you wouldn't be getting together with when you were sober, drugs and alcohol makes you get together with them. So why would you allow that to keep pushing you towards people that you wouldn't connect with? And it's like, that's why it's such a bad thing. Drugs and alcohol allow you to connect to people you wouldn't normally connect with. And I'm going to come back to drugs and alcohol, but I just want to move on. I'm going to make a controversial, one of many controversial statements here, but so now, when I said that the goal in life should be to find your true love in life and marry him or her, and have him or her be your only partner in life, because that connection is the best version of love. It'll lead to the best version of yourself, and it'll lead to such great experiences and emotions and things like that it is worth every sacrifice you'll have to make to get yourself to that point. And there are it takes a lot of sacrifice to get there, and like I say, it's a rare to find your true love. So sometimes you may be holding out for, maybe looking for something that may not be there. But that's the thing, if you're looking for it, you will recognize when this is my true love, but it's just, unfortunately, because of one or both of us, it's not going to happen. So, but that's the thing, though. As I said, the goal should be to try and find your true love and marry him or her as your only partner. But in that journey, if you do meet somebody and you realize it is love, I believe that it is not a sin if you have sex with them. So if you have sex with someone that you are sure that you have a love connection with in your journey, even though it's not your true love, and they won't be your only partner when you become married, as long as it's someone you love, I don't believe it's a sin. And so I know that's going to be controversial due to the way a lot of it's been taught that anything over one sexual partner is evil, and you're going to go to hell forever. And it's just like, I don't believe that. I don't believe that is right at all. I believe, checking it against God's word and everything that He's put out there for us, I really believe it is not a sin if you have sex with someone you love, as long as you go through the proper steps and precautions to make sure that it is a love connection and not lust. And if it is lust, you have to be able to walk away. This isn't the first time I discovered this information. Like, I'm not just recently discovering it. I've known about it for a few years now, and there have been certain situations where I've been out with someone and I realized that even though we're physically attracted to each other, we just don't click on that level. And I know it's not love, and I didn't push forward for that sexual connection. I'm a human being. I'm a straight male. I desire a connection with a connection with somebody, a woman that I love very much. I desire a sexual connection very much. So sometimes it's very hard and frustrating to pull yourself back from making that having sex with someone. But I just at certain times I knew that it was lust and not love. And now that I have the gift of hindsight and I can look back, I don't regret it at all. And I realize that now that I see the way things have gone, it would have gone so much worse if I had made a different decision. So like I say, it is so worth it and so necessary to make sure you determine properly, is it love or is it lust? And if it's lust, you have to walk away. And then if it's love, you can make that determination to either, not make the connection and wait for your true love if it's not them, or if it is, or make the connection if it is love. But I believe if you have sex with someone you love, it is not a sin. And so So if you remember back to the first video I did about the body and the soul, and about how, you know, there's different positive and negative connections all over the soul for different positive and negative things to influence you, and that you can create more of each depending on how you live your life. Well, when you have sex with someone you love, it creates those positive connections and allows for those positive influences and positive energy to come in and influence your life and give you strength and help you get through the day, and, you know, just make you stronger. And just sex with people you love opens up those positive connections, whereas sex with somebody that you lust, opens up those negative connections and allows those negative influences and energy to come in and bring you down and make it harder to find strength and harder to get through the day and harder to think positive thoughts. And so that's why it's so important to make sure that when you're deciding if you're going to have sex with someone, make sure that it's love and that is not lust, because there's already enough negative connections open on us, and Satan and his demons try as hard as they can every single day to influence us. So we don't need to be opening up more. That's why it's so important to stay away from having sex with people that you only lust. And just, if you're going to have sex with someone, it has to be with someone you love. And, you know, remember, it is worth waiting for to find your true love, but it's so important to determine, is it love or is it lust when you're deciding whether you're going to have sex with someone. Now we're moving. So there's two rules in helping you determine, is it love or is it lust. Now the first rule is that because the line is so thin between love and lust, it cannot be determined in one day. So when you are deciding, when you meet someone and you kind of click with them and you're thinking, I might want to make a sexual connection with this person, it cannot be determined. You cannot do it in the first time you meet or hang out or anything like that. Like, it takes more than one day. It has to take place over days and weeks, you know, because you have to connect with that person, and then, you know, create some distance and see how you react and how you feel. You know, if you're thinking about that person more and you feel your feelings getting stronger as, you know, after that first time you hung out, then you start to realize that this might be a love connection. And I'm not saying just one time and then as soon as you hang out once, immediately have sex with them after that. Like, you know, sometimes it'll take a few different times hanging out and doing things to, you know, before you realize for sure that it's a love connection. But it's worth it, and it's necessary, because you have to make sure, be 100% sure that it is a love connection, so that you're not making the love connection or the lust connection and putting that sin on your soul. So the first rule in it is the difference between love and lust cannot be determined in just one day. And see, that's why the custom came into place of, you know, women don't give it up on the first date, because people knew that you should only have sex with someone you love, because having sex with someone that you only lusted had brought on a lot of negative energy and stuff. See, that's the thing. Things about love and connections and energy and all that kind of stuff, and the soul, it all used to be much more mainstream, prevalent information. Used to be a common knowledge, but, you know, a long time ago, before society had really started to take shape, when Satan saw that it was starting to take shape, his plan for society was to make the world believe that he didn't exist, to try and take credibility and keep people away from God and Jesus. So his plan was to make people believe he didn't exist, and to do that, he had to bury things like the soul, the information about the soul and connections and love, sex, and lust, and he had to bury all that, because all of it leads back to him, and all of it talks about things that make him real, like energy and the soul and things like that. Once you get all this information, you start to realize that Satan is real, and he's working against us every single day to try and bring us down. But you see, that's why he buried all this information, so that we wouldn't know it, and we wouldn't know how to keep ourselves away from the worst version of ourselves, and we wouldn't know how to push ourselves toward the best version of ourselves. So that's why I know that God has spent all this time giving me this information and revealing it to me, and then now he's put it on my heart to put it out there, because, you know, if people don't know this information, how can they prepare against it and, you know, do the right things and live the right way? So that's why I'm putting this information out there, to, you know, clear the smoke and to pull back the curtain on everything, and to let everyone know how Satan works and why him and his Illuminati have set up this society the way it is, to bury all that information that leads back to Satan and shows you that he is real and that he's working against us to bring us down. And so And so you see, that's the thing. Those customs and those things like women don't give it up on the first date, stuff like that. It didn't just come into, they didn't just come into existence randomly or just or just be made up. Like they had specific, actual truths behind them to coming into existence, and people knew you should only have sex with people you love, and it cannot be determined in one day. So that's why it was put in place and taught to people, for women, never give it up on the first day, because it takes longer than that to really determine if you have a love connection with them or if it's just lust. So that is the first rule. The second rule, it comes back to what we talked about, I was just talking about before, and with alcohol and drugs. The second rule is that alcohol and drugs cannot be involved in any part of the process in determining love versus lust. So right there, if you follow those two rules, there's no more one-night stands. There's no more, getting drunk and hooking up with, like having drunken hookups, and there's no more, there's no more. There's a lot of the things that lead to sexual immorality with sex and stuff like that. It would all be gone if you follow these two rules. So that's why I know it sounds controversial, but when you break it down, it really is in line with what God wants and how He wants us to live. So that's the second rule. Alcohol and drugs cannot be involved in any part of the process in determining love versus lust. And that's why you can see if Satan wants us to keep us from the best version of ourselves and push us to the worst version. So that's why him and his Illuminati set up a society where alcohol and drugs dominate the scene of people getting together for relationships. Because I mean, where can you really go that is known that drugs and alcohol are not involved in any part of this? If you go out to a restaurant with someone, you're having drinks. If you go out to the club, you're having drinks. You go to a party, you're having drinks. You go to someone's backyard, you're having drinks. Now I know you're not forced to drink at these places, but it's really become pretty tough to find two people in one of these environments that are both not drinking, single, looking to make a connection with someone. Like, it's very, very rare. And once I explain everything, you can understand why that society is set up where alcohol and drugs dominate the scene of getting together, because it makes it impossible to determine the difference between love and lust. And really, when you start getting into alcohol and drugs, you don't want to determine the difference. You don't care. You start having some drinks. You just want to have sex with anybody you're physically attracted to, and it just leads to the worst version of yourself and opens up leads you to the sexual immorality that just opens up a lot of the absolute worst parts of society and people. So it's very important to keep alcohol and drugs out of the process of it. Now, I'm not saying that you couldn't randomly connect with someone that you love through alcohol and drugs. It's possible, but it would be completely random, and you have both the same odds as a slot machine. You're gonna lose a lot more than you win. So that's the thing. A lot of people that if you're not connected to God and Jesus, and you don't buy into energy and stuff like that, you're not going to care, and you'll do whatever you want. But it will all come back around, and one day you will be faced with the consequences of sin. So I really hope that people take this in and just keep things like alcohol and drugs away from their when you're trying to form a connection with people, especially a sexual connection, because it's so important in keeping you away from the worst version of yourself. So now, when it comes to sex, it has to be established and shouted as loud as possible that women have all the power when it comes to choosing whether they're going to have sex or whether they're going to have sex or not, and they absolutely should have 100% of that power. Why? Well, because when you break it down, sex for a woman is taking something from outside of her body into her body, and not just anywhere in her body, the most intimate part of her body. And because of that process, it is all up to a woman. It is 100% her choice. And see, that's the thing. That is why women should have 100% of the power all the time, because it is such a special, intimate event for them that it's, it really, as human beings, we kind of have we have these natural instincts in us to where our body is it's our sanctuary. We don't want it. We have a certain line, and we don't want people to cross it. We don't want people to violate it. And you just when people push past that line, and we have a very strong reaction to just get it out, like get people out and not, we don't want anything coming, into us that we don't want. So, it's a natural human emotion that's in every reaction that's in everybody. So, like when someone sticks their finger in your ear, you have a strong reaction to get it out. Somebody sticks their finger in your mouth, you have a strong reaction to get it out. Someone sticks their finger in your belly button, you have a strong reaction to get it out. You kind of feel violated in a way. So that's why it's such a special, that's why sex has to be treated as much more of a special thing for women, because really when you think about it, the process of sex requires them to suppress this emotion of, like something's coming into your body, and your human instinct wants you to get it out, but it is if it's treated right, it leads to a pleasurable experience, and it also creates life. So like, your body has the ability to suppress that instinct and emotion, but that's why sex has to be treated in such a special, intimate way. And, I know some people might say, you're too emotional, you're too sensitive about it, but I really don't care. It's not true. This is how people should be thinking about it. And when you think about it the other way and you get careless about it, it leads to a lot of the awful, evil, just the worst parts of things that come with sex. That type of thinking leads to it. And if you think about it as a special, intimate event that it is, especially for a woman, then none of those things are going to be a reality for anybody. But I just think that sex that's why it needs to be talked about more, because we need to break it down properly and realize how special and intimate of an event it is for a woman. And that is why they have all the power, and that is why they will always have all that power. And that is why, as males, it is a lifelong born responsibility in us to respect and cherish a female's right to be the sole judge and possessor of the decision of who will, and most importantly, who will not be able to make a sexual connection with her. And there is no time where it is a male's choice. It is 100% of the time always a woman's choice. And as men, it is our responsibility not only to respect and cherish it, but to help protect it and to keep women safe from any male that would look to violate this. And it is our job to make sure and to try and either teach or discipline these boys that do this disgusting behavior. That is part of the problem in society, that there's too many boys that are not being raised into men. That's the one thing that pisses me off about society today. The term man and men is just tossed around and given to any male that anyone wants to describe. Just like it's tossed around and given to people like it's something that every single male becomes and is. But that is absolutely 100% not true. You could be 80 years old and still be a little boy. A man is something that you grow into. It requires having qualities that you build. It requires a certain strength. It requires you to do certain things. It requires you to act certain ways. It requires you to respond in certain ways to certain situations and people. Being a man is something you have to grow into, and it's something you achieve. It is not something that every boy gets. It is not something it's not an age thing. It is a growth thing, and it is something that you earn. So the fact that people just throw that term out there is part of the problem, because if these boys think they're already men, why would they change? Oh, I'm a man, I can do whatever I want. If we establish that, no, you're a boy until you act a certain way, until you do a certain thing. It comes same thing with being a Christian. People just toss out the term Christian to people that are just living as the worst version of themselves, like scumbags. Like, if you don't act a certain way, if you don't do certain things, if you don't say certain things, if you don't believe certain things, you're not a Christian. You're not a man. So, like, stop. I want to stop this process of just handing people labels and titles that they don't deserve and that they didn't earn. And if you don't live a certain way, you can't be a Christian. If you don't live a certain way, you can't be a man. So I just want to establish that. And if we, so there's boys out there that are not raised to being men, and these boys think that they have the right to choose when they have sex with a woman. And it's not up to a woman. Women are just there the women are just there to be sex toys, so that whenever the boys want, they can just have sex with her. It's not ever up to a woman, and they're raised that it's their right. They can have sex with a woman whenever they want, wherever they want. It's 100% up to them. That is just disgusting, and I can't believe anyone's raised that way. But it's clearly they are being raised that way, because that's the mindset that they grow up with, and that's how they act, and that's why they bring all this disgusting things into women's reality. And then, and there's also boys that are not being raised into men that get such out of control egos that it becomes a sickness. Like, these guys get such an ego that they think that they're so good looking, or they're so rich, or they're so famous, or they're so this or that, that just every woman wants to have sex with them, no matter if they say yes or not. Like, how could they not want to have sex with someone so good looking, or so rich, or so famous? And when once one woman has sex with them, well, then now everyone does. It's like, well, if she wanted to have sex with me, how could this woman not? And she really does. She's just not. She's just saying that. She's just saying no, and she actually really does want me, because how could a woman not want someone so good looking? That is the sickness that becomes ego, and what gets into some boy's head. And then, that's the way that's the mentality they have, and that's the way they live their lives. They think that every single woman on the earth wants to have sex with them, and that they have the right to have sex with any woman on earth, whether the woman says yes or not. And so, they're just sick ways of thinking, and it's clearly, if you look around in society and the problems that we have, it's clear that this is not something, it's not made up. It's a fact that these mentalities are real in people, and we have to do everything that we can to end it and stop it, because it's just, nobody should ever have to experience some of these awful things that come with having these excuse me, having these mentalities. So, and it just comes back to how special and intimate of an event sex is for a woman. Like, it just needs to be appreciated and taken more seriously than it is. And, because of how special and intimate it is for women, that is why things like rape and sexual assault and sexual harassment, because it leads to these things. That's why it's all so it's just the worst thing, because it violates this special intimate event in the worst, awful, most cruel way. And it just bothers me that any woman or man has ever had to go through any of those awful things. And it bothers me that that people are still out there living in these kind of realities. And I really hope videos like these will help to ending these realities for people, and changing people's mindsets and mentalities to where they realize that sex is something that it's a special, intimate event, especially for a woman, and it's 100% her choice, and it needs to be 100% her choice. We have the responsibility to always protect that. But I just want to say that, from earlier in the video, I said that when you have sex with someone, your energy is connected to them for the rest of your life, and that is true in every case except for rape and sexual assault and things like that. So if God forbid you've ever gone through a situation like that, and you heard earlier that your energy is connected to people for the rest of your life when you have sex, and that might bother you depending on the experience you went through. I just wanted to establish that for the energies to be connected, consent, the woman has to consent. So, and if a woman says no and did not consent and it proceeds anyways, then your energies would not be connected. And unfortunately, there's nothing that can be done about the physical violation. But just know that your energy is not connected to this person. Forced to be connected to this person for the rest of your lives. It has to be 100% consent in a woman's heart. And it has nothing to do with physicality or anything like that. It doesn't matter about any. Consent is not about a physical response. The body is scientific. It just doesn't care about emotions or consent or anything like that. The body just cares about science, friction. So, physical response is not what I'm talking about. If a woman truly consents in her heart and says yes, then and then they proceed to a sexual connection, that your energies will be connected for the rest of your life. But if a woman says no and it is a crime and a violation of that, the energies will not be connected. Unfortunately, there's still the physical violation, but God made it so that the energies would not be connected for the rest of your life when a crime and a violation has taken place. So I just wanted to establish that out there for anyone that might have had a little bit of trouble with what I said earlier. So, but that's the thing. If we focus on raising our boys into men and creating just creating a world where, you know, boys want to achieve, want to get to be, want to try to be men and to grow, to achieve certain qualities and to achieve a certain growth. We have to build a world where boys are striving to be that. We don't just throw the term man at them so they think they're already finished and already accomplished. We have to establish a difference between boy and man, and, you know, just teach these boys how to grow into men. And because men don't do any of these awful, evil things. Men are the ones that stand in between and make sure it doesn't happen. So we just have to focus. The one thing that we can all focus on and we can all have an effect on is trying to raise our boys into men. So that has to be a focus for society. Now I'm going to move on to another controversial statement. And, you know, I know I'm going to be alone on a lonely island with all this, but it's all good. I just hope that I'm, you know, describing it and breaking it down in a way where people can understand, and maybe, you know, you will come on board and realize that, you know, I've uncovered some truths here. But another controversial statement. So I said before that, you know, I believe if two non-committed adults have a love connection and not lust, they've gone through followed the 2 rules and gone through all the steps to make sure that, you know, it is a love connection. If 2 non-committed adults have that love connection and they have sex, I do not believe it's a sin. But I also believe that people do not need to be faithful to one person until they are engaged and then married. So, you know, once you're engaged and married, you absolutely be 100% faithful to that person, you know, and committing adultery and cheating and breaking that and violating that is a very serious sin. And like I say, you do not want to be putting that kind of sin on your soul and paying the consequences for it. So, you know, once you're engaged and married, you absolutely should be 100% committed. But really, I mean, it's the way things are set up right now with the boyfriend and girlfriend relationship, and, you know, there's no difference between marriage, being engaged, and being married. Like, it's, you know, you're committed like you're engaged or married from the moment that you get together in your relationship. So, and, you know, like that restricts you from. That's the thing. Part of the realizing who your true love connection and a love connection is knowing that you have the freedom to, you know, to make multiple connections if that's possible, or, you know, just having multiple options to see if people are connected. That's why dating used to be, you know, it never used to be exclusive. You were boyfriend and girlfriend, it was just one person. Dating was, you'd spend some time with this person to see if it was a love connection, and then you'd take some time and maybe spend some time with another person, and that would kind of let you realize, oh, you know, like, I'm with this person, but the entire time I'm thinking about this person, and, you know, like, I really kind of don't want to go with other connections. I want to go to this one. So that helps you realize things that you might not have realized without having the freedom to, and just knowing that you can make multiple connections. And I know it kind of seems like I'm advocating sexually immoral behavior, but, you know, but really when you break it down, if you follow the rules, you're not going to be getting into, you know, like one night stands or just any of that sexually immoral behavior. You're going to be, you know, spending days and weeks connecting with a person and spending time with them, making sure it's a love connection. So that's the thing. Even though you're open to multiple connections, it's not like you're open to multiple partners, you know, every day or a week, or like just, you know, like anything like that. So but I just believe that, and, you know, like, that's why the engagement and marriage used to be so much more of a significant thing, because, you know, once you got engaged, that was signifying to people that there was no more options for multiple connections. You were now committed and focused to making one connection with one person. You'd found the person you think that has a very strong connection you'd like to see through for the rest of your lives, and, you know, that was a signal. That's why it was, you know, that's why it was such a big deal. Now, you know, it's basically just a thing to say, hey, we're getting married, and then you get married, it's official. You know, there's no real difference between how you were boyfriend, girlfriend, the dating, and then moving to engagement and marriage, more serious. So, you know, and I just believe that having the option and the freedom to make multiple connections is really what will help you see that, you know, it will help you find your strongest connection. And so, you know, like, sometimes you'll make a connection and you won't be thinking about that person anymore. You'll be thinking about the person you're with, and you'll realize that it wasn't as strongest connection as you thought. And, you know, but I'm not saying you're having sex with all these people. Like, that's why I know it's such a tough thing to talk about. And, you know, I really debated on back and forth on whether to make this video, because I didn't know if I could explain it properly to where I, you know, to people knew that I wasn't advocating sexual immorality, that, you know, like, even though I'm talking about multiple connections and, you know, freedom for options and stuff, I'm not talking about sleeping around with people, like, and, you know, because if you follow everything, you know, if you follow everything to the rule, you won't end up with a large number of partners because of how you live it. You'll eventually, because you're making only love connections, you'll eventually find that stronger love connection that you'll want to see for the rest of your life. And that's the thing, you know, making sexual connections with only people you love. It's not just one and done. Like, you know, it's not like these lust connections where, you know, you have it one night and, you know, it was just, you know, basically just, you know, climb on top, insert, thrust furiously until climax. Like, it's like so much more than that. And it's just like, you know, so those lust connections are very nice. You know, see you around sometime, give me a call, or, you know, like, one night, it's just, that is just, it's almost like an insult to what sex is, to have those, you know, to be having only those kind of experiences. You know, when you have sex with someone you love, it's on such a different level, you know. It's like the deep kissing and kissing of the neck and hands all over and hands through the hair and hands in the hair while you're kissing, and, you know, you get into that deep bear hug where you almost become one person. And just stop now, but you know what I mean. It's just like sex with someone you love is on such a different level that, you know, when you're done, you don't want to be like, hey, okay, see you later. You know, you're wanting to have that experience, you know, again, you know, more and more. And so it's like, you know, the stronger that love connection is with that person, you know, the greater the sex is going to be, and the stronger those emotions are going to be, and the more pleasurable it's going to be. And, you know, and it's just like, and so, you know, like, it's such a great experience having sex with someone you love that you don't want to move to multiple partners. You want to see this through and get as much out of it as you possibly can. So, you know, it's just another reason why I'm, you know, I know it seems like sometimes I'm advocating for sexual immorality, but I'm really not when you break it down. And when you really have these, you know, when you embrace the experience of having sex with someone you love in the right way, and, you know, you embrace all the emotions that come with it, and, you know, and you do all the things. I mean, you know, sometimes it's really easy to just go and have sex and just go through the motions and, you know, really not take the time to, you know, feel every part of the body, you know, and just like, sometimes it's just, you know, we're so focused on the one aspect of it, of, you know, like the in and out, you know. I'm not trying not to get too descriptive or too crude or anything, you know. Sometimes we're just focused on the one part of it that you don't really let yourself experience the best parts of it, and you don't let yourself have the best experience out of it. And it's a shame, because, like I said before, sex is one of the greatest gifts and blessings that God gave us. And if you treat it the right way, and you really put as much effort and energy into making that experience as good as possible, you know, you're just it's gonna be on such a level that, you know, it's worth everything that it requires to put into it to get it. So, you know, I just wanted to really establish I'm not advocating for sexual immorality. Like, if you go through everything properly, follow the 2 rules, you know, just take your time to make sure that it is a love connection. And, you know, and when it is a love connection, that you don't just, you know, just think about one part of the sex. Like, you know, you really embrace and do everything you can to make it the best experience you can. Like, and, you know, like, if you do all that, you know, you're going to be in line with having the best experiences of life. And I truly believe you will not be sinning, and you will be living in line with how God wants. And that's the thing. God created the greatest things in life for us to experience. Like, He didn't create sex and make it as great and as amazing as it is for us not to do it. Like, I mean, I just can't fathom. I hate hearing about married couples that, you know, don't have sex anymore. I mean, that is the jackpot. You've connected your energy to one person, and, you know, you made it official and everything like that. You can have, like, that's a free for all. Have sex as much as you possibly can. And I mean, I know that Satan and his Illuminati set up a society to make it as hard as possible for, you know, a husband and a wife to have a sexual relationship. But God, you have to fight for it as hard as you possibly can, because that's it. And especially when you've created children, you know, like, sometimes, you know, people say when you have children, it pushes people apart and, you know, makes it harder to have sex. But it's like, man, it's like that is where that is just your connection is so much stronger when you've created kids that you just have to find a way to to make that sexual connection with each other, and because that's your husband, that's your wife, that's the person that you love, that's it could be your true love. So but just don't ignore it, don't take it for granted, and just find a way to set up a life where you can have a sexual relationship, because it can be on a greater level than even like before. If you're having sex with people you love, it's different when you're not committed to that person 100%. When you know that you've given them your energy and your love and just everything, like as much as you possibly can for the rest of your life, like that sexual connection is just on another level. Because like I just really wanted to establish and explain that sex is one of the greatest gifts and blessings, but it could also easily be a catalyst to our downfall. But just I feel that I've broken it down and explained it properly to where if you follow everything right, you won't be living a life of sin. You'll be living a life that's in line with God. So that kind of brings us to the end of all the information that I'm putting out there. I know it's a lot. I know it's controversial. I know I'm going to be on a lonely island with it, but I really believe that it's the truth and that it needs to be put out there. And so because there was so much, I'm going to kind of just go to sum everything up and go over everything quickly one last time. Very quick, just kind of bullet points, but just to kind of sum everything up. So to start, it should be the number one goal in life should be to try and find your true love, to marry your true love, and have him or her be your only sexual partner, because that is the best version of love. It'll push you to the best version of yourself, and will give you the best experience of life, and it will give you the most amazing experiences and feelings and emotions that you could never even dream of. So it's worth all the sacrifice it'll take to get there, and it should be everybody's number one goal in life. And now, so to be able to reach this goal, you have to approach every single potential connection with, is it love or is it lust? And if it's love, then you can make that connection. And if you have sex with them, it won't be a sin. But if it's lust, you have to walk away, and you can't make that sexual connection. Because if you do, it's a sin, and you're just opening up those negative connections and influences and putting serious sin on your soul that you just don't need. We don't need to be adding anymore. So it's important to determine when you're looking at every potential connection, is it love or is it lust? Now I know I've been saying that a lot. You have to determine, is it love or is it lust? You have to try and find your true love. But I know some people might say, well, how the heck do I do that? Excuse me one second. Thank you. You might be saying, how are you going to do that? There's no bell that goes off, or there's no little light that goes on saying, ding, you're in love. It would be nice, it'd be great, but unfortunately nothing like that. So, all I can do is pass along my own experiences and things that I've kind of discovered that help you realize if you love someone or not. Just when you're with somebody and you're hanging out, if it feels like you're the only two people in the world, like you completely shut the world out and it just doesn't feel like anything is outside of the room you're in, and you're not thinking about your phone, you're not thinking about what you're doing later or tomorrow, or you're not thinking about your stresses, you're just completely 100% in that moment with that person. Those are the kind of moments that show you that it's a love connection, and it's actually, this is somebody you love. When you're with somebody, it's like, you're kind of, sometimes you're bored. You might be thinking about other people. Sometimes you might be thinking about things you're doing later, or tasks you have to accomplish. The more you're thinking about things like that instead of being in the moment, that's more evidence that it's a lust connection. So, and for your true love, it's going to be someone that you connect with more than anyone else on the earth. So you're going to have a lot in common. Your weaknesses and strengths are going to balance out. You're just gonna, a lot of your interests will be the same. So that's the thing. Like the stronger connection you have with somebody, with how you feel, and the more you fit together, the more that'll tell you that it could be your true love, or it's just somebody that you have a love connection with. And so like I say, there's no unfortunately bell or light that goes off to let you know, but as long as you're paying attention to these things when you're with people, and you're just you're really trying to make sure that it is a love connection instead of lust, you'll be able to read these feelings a lot better. And when you do find true love, it's something that you will just know. And I know it seems like a cop out to say, oh, you'll just know, but it really is something that you'll just know. Like when you're connecting with them, and you're talking about interests and lives and experiences, and you're realizing that you're just more interested in what they're saying, and the feelings are just growing stronger and stronger. And you just, everything they say is like, oh, I do that too, or I like that too, or it's just, the more you just get that feeling where you will just know this is. And I mean, it's such a special thing that it is something you'll just know. I know it sounds like a cop out, but that's the thing. The more, if you're not looking for these things and you're not paying attention, then you'll never be able to read the things in yourself that are telling you this is my true love, or this is somebody that I love. So you just always have to be approaching every potential connection with, is it love versus lust, and paying attention to these things inside you that will help tell you and determine, is it love or is it lust. And and then when you're out in your journey and you're spending time with people and you're clicking, and you click with someone, you realize that this is somebody I do have a love connection with, but I know it's not true love, but it's still a strong love connection. And when you reach that point, you have a choice in your life, and you either sacrifice making a sexual connection with that person you love, because you have the option to, because once you realize you do love, you have love for them, it is a love connection, then as God, I believe God taught us that you can have sex with them and it's not a sin. So but at the same time, you see, the number one goal should be to find your true love. So you have a decision to make. You could either sacrifice making a sexual connection with somebody that you love and hold on for your true love, trying to find your true love, and keep that, try and go for that special connection, or you can decide that you can sacrifice making that the strongest love connection, and finding your true love as your only partner, and you can make that sexual connection with the person you love, other person you love, and it wouldn't be a sin. So that's where the sacrifice comes in. You're going to meet a lot of people that you're going to meet people in your life that you have a love connection with, but you'll realize it might not be true love, and at that point you just have to make a choice, and it just depends how many people you've already connected your energy to throughout your life, what their content of character is. And that's why content of character should be one of the most important things in determining a potential sexual partner, because their content of character will go a long way in determining if they're influencing you positively or negatively. And things like physical attraction and stuff, they're important too. But content of character should be the number one important thing, because it is the thing that will really determine if you'll have those positive connections or negative connections. And that's the thing. In making the determination between content of character is important, but you just always have to be looking at it. Is it love or is it lust? And now remember the two rules in determining is it love or is it lust. First rule: no alcohol or drugs can be involved in any part of the process in determining if it's love or lust. And the second rule: it cannot be determined over one day. It has to take place over days or weeks. So that's the thing. If as long as you follow those two rules, don't involve alcohol or drugs in any part of the process of determining if it's love or lust to make that connection, and making sure that it takes place over days or weeks, never on the first time you meet or hang out with someone. And that's the thing. Once you realize it's a love connection and you made that sexual connection, and then it's fine to have some alcohol once in a while, to have some fun or whatever. Nobody should ever be doing man-made drugs. Like, those should be wiped off the planet and never, just, they should be stuff that we just talked about as in past tense. But like alcohol, once you made that connection, I'm not saying you have to abstain, your whole life from alcohol. Like, it's you have to abstain from it when you're in the process of determining, is it love or is it lust when you want to make a sexual connection with somebody. So, it's okay after, but it's okay after once in a while. Man-made drugs are never okay. They should never be involved in any part of the process, in any part of anybody's life. But as long as you follow those two rules, you'll never really go wrong, and you won't be led into sexually immoral behavior. So following those two rules will keep you making love connections with people instead of lust. And so now, and that's the thing. When you're when you're making when you're making those when you're determining the difference between love versus lust, and even though you realize that it is a love connection, just remember that every single person you have sex with connects your energy to them for the rest of your life. So even though that even though you realize that you have love for them, and even though their content or character might be good, you still have to ask yourself, how much have I shared with people, and how do I want to connect my energy to this person, and is their content or character good enough to influence me positively? Am I attracted to them? So all of that comes into place. But just remember to always be mindful of the fact that every single person you have sex with, you connect your energy to them for the rest of your life, and they can either influence you positively or negatively. So it's very important to be mindful of that when determining if you're going to make a sexual connection with someone. And when it comes to the sexual connection, we have to establish as loud and as bold as possible that women have 100% of the power when it comes to the choice of whether to have sex or not, because it's such a special, intimate event of taking something from outside of their body into the most intimate part of their body. And I just want to say to women that please don't be careless with this power, and don't just give it to anyone. And always determine, is it love or is it lust? And just don't just give it to anybody, any guy that's going to be lovey-dovey for a few text messages or lovey-dovey for a few hours when you're together. Make people back up their words with their actions, and make people show that they do love you and they do care about you. I'm not talking about buying you gifts. I mean, if somebody is nice to you when they're in private and mean to you in front of their friends and stuff, that is indicative of, their content of character is not where it needs to be. And, it may not be a love connection. So, and, if you're spend time with someone and, you tell them you're not ready to have sex with them, and, they pull back and they ignore you, or they try and make you jealous, or they just, they do other things, and that shows you their content of character isn't where it needs to be. And that it may be a lust connection and not love. So that's the thing. Women, unfortunately, there's too many women that are just too careless with who they have sex with and connect their energy with, and who and how many people really. And sex is such a serious thing that it needs to be taken much more seriously than it is. And I know a lot of people will be like, you're just being too emotional or too sensitive about it or whatever. But I'm standing firm. I really don't care what anyone says. I know I'm not being too sensitive or too emotional about this. Like, this is how sex needs to be looked at. It's how it has to be broken down. And the opposite end of it is a world where sexual assault and rape and sexual harassment and things like that are the reality for women. And if you think about it this way and treat it this way, those things will not be a reality for anybody. So I really don't care if anyone wants to think I'm being too whatever about it. Like, I'm standing firm in this, and this is I believe I've done everything I have to do to try and achieve the growth and call myself a man. I believe that I am, and I will always stand in between women and anybody that tries to violate the special, intimate event and moment that sex is for a woman. So I just want to establish, and just males need to remember that it is our lifelong born responsibility to respect, cherish, and protect a woman's right to choose who she has sex with. So, and we as males, we need to focus on raising our boys into men. So, because men do not act that way, and if we raise our boys into men, we can create a world where these things are just in the past and not a reality for anybody. And so now just going to finish things up. I know I've gone a long time, but just a couple more points. I just want to establish again that sex with someone you love is not a sin, but sex with someone you love definitely is a sin. And the line between love and lust is so thin, and so important and so dangerous that we just have to be taking much more precautions and treating it much more seriously than it is. Every potential sexual partner, we have to approach it as, is it love or is it lust? We have to follow the rules. Can't involve alcohol or drugs. It has to take place over days or weeks. And it's just But I do believe that if you go through that process and you take the time and you do determine that it is a love connection and you have sex with them, it is not a sin. I truly believe that. I believe that's what God has meant for us. I believe that that's how He wanted us to live, and that's part of the reason why He created sex, to make it such a great gift and a blessing for us. Because if we do it the right way, not only will we build strength in ourselves, but we'll open ourselves up to the greatest experiences of life. And that's the things. If we truly embrace it and treat sex the right way, it really is one of the best things in life. And it doesn't have to be a catalyst to our downfall, and it doesn't have to lead to all the negativity and awfulness that it does lead to. So, I just want to, I know that sex is a taboo subject and it's not talked about, and it's sometimes it's looked as an evil and bad thing, but I hope that in this video today I've been able to break it down and explain why I believe that it is not, that it is a blessing and a gift from God, and that it's just, as long as we do the right things and go about treating it the right way, that it doesn't have to be a bad thing. It can be the absolute best thing in life. So that will bring me to the end today. I know I've gone long. I know I've been very controversial today. I know that I've challenged a lot of, beliefs and things that have been in place for a long time. And that's why I know I'm going to be on a lonely island by myself believing this. But that's why I also ask that you just watch the whole video before making a decision and a judgment on what I've been saying. Because, I truly believe that, with the information that God has given me over the years, that with how I've broken it down, that as long as you go through everything that's required to determine if it's love or lust, as long as you do everything that's required to determine it, to make sure it's a love connection, having sex with someone you love is not a sin. Having sex with someone you love, lust, is a sin, and that, as long as we do go through all the proper steps to determine it, we can have sex with people we love, and it can open us up to the greatest experiences of life. And to always remember that our goal should be to try and find our true love and have that be our only sexual partner, and have that experience after marriage and stuff. But that's the thing. The more of us that we can push towards the best version of ourselves, the more people in the world living as the best version of ourselves, the more we can push society towards the best version of itself, we are going to make it much more of a common thing for people to be able to connect with their true love. Because that's the thing, the influences of Satan and his demons will be able to strike down a lot of the serious ones from earth. Those influences will always be there. Satan, that's the thing, we'll never... No matter how many victories we achieve over Satan, he'll always be there trying to find another way to snake his way in and influence us to be the worst versions of ourselves and to keep us away from God and Jesus. But that's the thing. Like, even though we can't ever get rid of a lot of these things, we can use the armor of God to protect ourselves from a good majority of them. And that's the thing. If we're living as the best versions of ourselves, creating a world that's the best version of itself, we're gonna enable people to connect with their true love as their only sexual partner in marriage. And it's gonna be more of a common thing. It's not gonna be so rare. But that brings us to the end today. I hope I've explained everything properly so that everyone can understand. As always, if you have any comments or questions or anything, just leave me a comment below or get at me on Twitter at IcemanCaesar. Thanks everyone for coming along for the ride and staying along for the ride today. We'll see you soon down the road. Much love and God bless. Peace.